Hello everyone and welcome to the game you all requested. It's a game a couple of days ago. It was played Ashwat Kaushik, Singaporean, another Grandmaster, Singaporean chess player, but he has defeated a Grandmaster at the age of 8 years, 6 months and 11 days. And the Grandmaster in question is Polish Grandmaster Jacek Stopa, and a couple of days ago, we had another world record being broken. The youngest player ever to defeat a Grandmaster was from Serbia, Leonid Ivanovic. He defeated Milko Popchev, Bulgarian Grandmaster. But now, a couple of days later, Ashwat Kaushik breaks that record by some 4.5, maybe even 5 months. So really, really impressive. But what I am interested in is how it happened. So it's a classical event, the 22nd Burgdorfer Stadthaus Open, and it was played in round 4. It's classical time format, 90 minutes per player, plus 30 seconds increment, starting from move 1. Let's check it out and see what this game is all about. Ashwat with the white pieces opens with pawn to e4. We have pawn to d6, they're going for the Pirc defense. d4, knight to f6 from advancing the pawn to b4. Rook to e1. And now pawn to h6. We have bishop to a2. Interestingly, the top move in the position. So both players know their theory very well. Rook to e8 and bishop to e3. We have bishop to f8. Now the rook nicely helps out with the control of the center, and the bishop helps out with the defense of the black king. We have queen to d2. Also, the bishop here is useful if white gets an idea maybe about sacrificing on h6. The bishop on f8 says not so fast. We have queen to c7, and now the game the position has been reached before. There's even a game from 2004 from Aeroflot Open, Sergei Zhigalko versus Slim Belkodia, where rook 8 to d1 was played. Zhigalko won that game, but here we have knight to h4, the top move recommended by the engine by the young Ashwat, and it is now as of move 13 that we have a completely new game. So the knight might find an outpost on f5, but also with this bishop controlling this long diagonal, the knight might also find an outpost on g6 because the f-pawn is pinned. So let's see what happens. Knight to h7, preparing to bring the other knight to f6, and okay, he lands the knight on g6. The bishop might be useful later on. Also, if you eliminate it at some point, maybe the diagonal gets blocked, you will just be able to capture on f8 and you will enjoy the advantage of the bishop pair. So we have a trade on d4, e captures, bishop captures, queen captures is also possible, perhaps even better here. But okay, bishop captures, we have knight to c5 and now pawn to f4. Just enjoying the extra space that was offered. Bishop to e6, now the knight definitely is hanging, and of course knight captures on f8. We have knight captures on f8, and here pawn to f5. You could also just trade, for example, captures, attacks the bishop and bring the bishop back, but he decided to trade this way. Pawn to f5, now the bishops get traded off, white no longer has the bishop pair, captures, and pawn to f6. It's maybe a bit of a weakening move, but as white does not have a light square bishop, the position is perfectly fine for black to play. We have queen to f4. Also interesting is pawn to e5 right away, sort of to undermine the knight on c5, and even if f captures on e5, then you eliminate the knight and you destroy black's beautiful center. And okay, later on you will claim one of the pawns, you will play rook a3, move the knight, play rook g3, put pressure on the king. It's a nice position for white. But Ashwat decided to go for queen to f4 first. Also, this stops the d pawn, and also maybe later on it can prepare e5. We have knight f to d7, now trying to get the knight to e5, and knight to d1. Now the idea is probably to bring the rook into the attack, but also the knight might come to f2 to g4, and then maybe you sacrifice and go for some sort of an attack. So knight to e5 as planned, rook to a3, and king to h7. We have knight to f2 and queen to f7. So okay, nicely developing, grabbing more space, preparing to shift the queen over to c4. It's basically the only way to get that queen into the game, as h5 would be a bit too adventurous. But even if too adventurous, white does stop it. So Ashwat plays pawn to g4. Maybe pawn to h4 was a little bit safer, but he goes for pawn to g4. He invites the queen to c4. Queen to c4 now attacks the c2 pawn, and also the bishop on d4 is hanging, and queen to d2. And we have a very, very interesting position here where objectively Jacek's position is better, but you have to be you have to play with engine-like precision to take advantage of this position. To show you what I mean by this, you have to play queen to b4. It's the only move that gives black the advantage. Point is that you are offering a queen trade, and of course white will not trade queens. White will move the queen back, and after white moves the queen back, now you throw in this knight e to d3 move. You prevented the queen from defending the bishop, and now you either trade a knight for bishop, or the bishop moves, attacks the queen, and now you have this knight captures on f2 move, attacking the white queen. And after bishop captures on b4, knight captures on d1, bishop captures on c5, d captures and rook captures on d1, rook captures on e4. Black will just enjoy a long-term advantage in the form of that one extra pawn. And even if you go for something like rook to d7, doesn't matter. There's rook to b4 attacking the pawn here, and if you try to go for activity with something like rook to e7, rook captures on g7, and if rook captures on b7, you'll play rook captures on c2, and black is up 2 pawns. Black is now winning this game. So after queen to d2, that was the way to go, but b6 was played. So you don't have to ruin your beautiful center if the knight gets captured. But now comes king to g2. Rook to g3 would be a bit stronger, but okay, king to g2. We have rook to a7. Again, rook to d8 was the way to go, and now pawn to h4. Just continuing the attack against the black king. Everything is pointed in that direction, so that, of course, is where Ashwath wants to go. We have pawn to d5, and now pawn to b3, chasing away the queen, queen to b4, offering a queen trade, and now he does trade because now it favors white. Queen captures on b4, a captures, and rook a to a1. But this, you know, if you consider that position that we've checked, and this one, this is not all that great. D captures on e4 is played, but now bishop captures on c5. B captures, knight captures on e4, now threatening the c5 pawn as well. So knight capture, and this is also, I don't know what was the situation here, what was the situation on the clocks. White is better here, but black could still play this with something like, let's say, pawn to c4. White will push on the king side, black will play rook to a5, stop the pawn on a4, and also put pressure on the f5 pawn, maybe some g6 action, king j8, and knight to d6 attacks the rook. Okay, white is the one who's pushing here. You can't go here because of the fork on the 2 rooks, so we're gonna have to move the rook to b8. And now let's say rook e4, you put pressure on the pawn, we have a trade here, and this is the position you would get, where it's always white pushing for the win. However, in this position, knight captures on g4 was played, completely missing white's next move. And I don't know, maybe it was due to time trouble, because I have a hard time believing a grandmaster would miss something like this. Maybe he thought, okay, if knight captures on f6 check, trying to win the rook, I have knight captures on f6, and now my rook is defended. But the problem is there's knight to g5 check, and this just hangs the rook on e8. Okay, it's basically an exchange. You're going to be up in exchange, but still, there was no reason to do this. F captures, rook captures on e8, and now knight back to f6, attacking the rook, but just rook to c8. And white is now completely winning. He's up the exchange, he has the passed a pawn, and there's nothing black has to show for that. So g4 was played, we have rook captures on c6, and now rook to d7. We have pawn to a5, of course, starting to advance the passed pawn, rook to d2 with check, king to g3, and now rook to d4. You can't go after the pawn because a6 is just winning, and here he's trying to defend the g4 pawn in order to go knight to h5 check to kick away the king, and maybe do some damage with the passed g pawn. But Ashwath says, nope, I'm not even gonna give you that. Rook captures on f6. And that's just it. The passed a pawn is winning. G captures on f6 was played. a6, we have rook to d8, a7, and rook to a8. Okay, you stop the passed pawn, but the rook is now stuck here, and the white king just enters the game. King captures on g4, king g7, king to f4, king to f7, king to e4, king to e7, and king to d5. And he was in this position. On move 45, that Grandmaster Jacek Stopa resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here, and Ashwath Kaushik becomes the youngest person ever to defeat a grandmaster. Like I said, at the age of 8 years, 6 months, and 11 days. And the reason you resign here is you're just going to lose these 2 pawns, and that's pretty much it. Now white is up 3 pawns, and there's literally nothing black can do. If you move the rook, the pawn promotes. If you try to bring the king over here to well, there's no reason for the king to go there. There is absolutely nothing black can do here. So it was a fine game by both of them. The critical moment, the move 25 here, where queen to b4 was missed with that tricky line, knight to e to d3 to cut off the queen's defense of the bishop and go after the bishop. So that's number one. And of course, number two here, instead of trying to, hold a worse position, he went for knight captures on g4. I imagine he just missed. He just missed it. He only checked knight captures on f6, and he thought, okay, this is fine. But I guess he completely missed knight to g5, because it's not like, okay, it's move 32. You have 30 seconds increment. It doesn't matter how low you are on time. A grandmaster will not miss this, and the extra time is being awarded for move 1. So, very, very possible that this was just a blunder. So, missing a better position on that move 25, and also just blundering the exchange here. That's what got Ashwath Kaushik the win. But you have to take down a grandmaster. You have to take advantage of everything that he gives you. This is what he gave him, and this is what he took. So big congratulations to young Ashwath. I remember probably at that age I knew how to play chess, but yeah, I think yeah, the extent of my knowledge was maybe this, yeah. Maybe this, and bishop to c4 and castles. Yeah, this was the extent of my knowledge at the age of 8 years. Put the knight on c3, f3, play d4, e4, put the bishop on c4 and castle. Maybe pawn to h3. But yeah, seems like it works, and yeah, it's definitely the way to go. It doesn't matter if you're playing, a fifth category player or even a grandmaster. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, huge congratulations to Ashwath Kaushik, becoming the youngest player ever to take down a grandmaster. I would like to thank David Gasparian, Jeffrey Menser, Kevin Hawkins, Daniel Heist, and Matthew Witten for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world, such as this. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.